I don't invest in any business which I don't understand. मैं बोला यार फ़ोन तो तूने किसी और को लगाया है बट मेरे को कुछ इन्वेस्ट करना है तो आजा. Actually speaking पैसे की ज़रूरत कम होती रहती है. As you grow older you don't need that much of money.
Because a lot of people could be running after that financial number despite having enough.
That time when the car crash happened, I told you, like, then I realized कि अगर उस दिन मेरे को कुछ हो जाता तो kids were small and you know like wife never knew what I did in business. Nobody ever became rich by doing 9 to 5 job. That's a true story.
It's said that wealth is of multiple types. There's health, there's education, there's social network, while of course there's also time and money. And the gentleman we have today is someone who we can actually discuss all these aspects of wealth with. We have with us today Mr. Sandeep Mall, who is a tactical tiger as per One Finance's MoneySign assessment. Today we'll understand what is his psychology, his upbringing, his environment, and how all of that shapes his financial decisions in personal finance. Welcome so much, sir.
Hi Sarthak. Thanks for having me here.
Happy to have you here. So I think to start off with, we'd love to know what your upbringing years have been like, what you really do today, and how would you introduce yourself?
Well, I was born and brought up in a very conservative Marwadi family in West Bengal, in a very small town in West Bengal. And you know, like we used to keep हिसाब of 2 रुपए का. Your grandfather used to say कि परवल खरीदिए 2 रुपए की, तो you write it down, like you know, it's that sort of like sort of scarcity. We are not like poor, but like you know, conservative and typical attitude like towards like you know long term save करना है या उस type के करना. So that was like my initial years, and then I moved to class 4th onwards. I have been independent actually from in my hostel, and then engineering I did in hostel, and then I moved out of there and wanted to start something of my own. So I moved to Faridabad to set up some manufacturing unit. And then the initial struggle what you go through, you know, when there's no money and you're trying to grow. So almost 20 years it took me, where I had to compromise on a lot of other things to establish myself. And then this is where we are today.
So as we see, you're an entrepreneur, and you have a family business, safe to say, that you set up yourself in Faridabad. What do you manufacture and what do you do in this?
So we make very precision engineered components. So it's a 100% export oriented unit where we make products for agriculture industry, construction industry, mining industry, you know, all those heavy loaders and all these things. So the products for them, and automobile industry, consumer durables. And we sell products to all across the globe, like, you know, to OEM customers.
Okay. So is there something that really pushed you towards this industry in some way? Was there parental guidance, or did you spot an opportunity in the market because of which you went after it?
So basically, I mean, our family business was into trading and all this, like, you know, food grains and all those things. And I wanted to move out and do something different, you know, like it was, I was not interested to sit in that dukaan and, you know, that sort of thing, engineering karke and all those things. So then I got an opportunity actually. Somebody, one of the family said they had a factory and start making some products for us, you know, like that sort of thing. So I took that opportunity and moved in. But unfortunately, हम जिनको supply करने के लिए we went there, they went bankrupt or whatever, you know, their business failed. So, but then struggle, एक बार आ गए तो फिर then fight was on.
Okay, so you mentioned that maybe there was a point when the business failed. Did it fail because of maybe some debt pressure while there is no revenue, or do you think debt was ever part of your entrepreneurial journey?
No, debt has been part of it, but at that point of time, the first, like you were saying, is there was no debt because, I mean, it was such a small enterprise, you know, and there was nothing that bank would never give me a loan, you know, like that sort of, the first loan I got after a couple of years, जब 5 लाख रुपए, you know, the banker said कि हाथ मिला के कि thank you आपको, congrats आपको loan दिया है करके types. So I just tweeted also a few days back on the same thing. The same bank came back to me after 25, 27 years and with an open offer of कि हम आपका like account move करना चाहते हैं from wherever we are right now. so at this rate and blah blah, and like without collateral and all those offers. So I'm saying the first time when we started, like for a few years, they would not even give money. You need 2 guarantors and all these things. So debt has been always part of. Without debt, it's very difficult to grow as a small scale or a medium enterprise.
So given that you've invested a fair chunk of your wealth, maybe in the initial years in your own business, do you feel now when you look at other people who are driven and building something which can be really high value, do you see yourself investing in other businesses from that point of view?
You mean to say as an investor to some businesses or something?
Absolutely,
as an investor. We keep on doing that.
Okay, so is it when you invest in other businesses, do you have a thesis where you think of, okay, I want to invest in young startups or young entrepreneurs, or with other businesses you would probably prefer something which is more mature through the stock markets?
No, both the cases, like not young startups in this. I need to understand the business. First of all, I don't invest in any business which I don't understand. Like uska, what's the motive behind it, or like how the revenue is going to come. So I really avoid all those investments which I'm not sure about or which I don't understand. And secondly is the second part you said is investing in the wealth or personal portfolio. Am I right? That's what
Correct.
you said. Yeah.
Correct.
So that part of it, I do it again. It depends again. Different phases of life, I did in a different way. So when I had no time, so that point of time, I used to have professionals do it for me. So my whole time was dedicated to my work. So that lifted. When I started to understand a bit more, and then I can jump in and do few of my things, the way I wanted, because I was not very satisfied with all the people who have been assisting me, the fund managers or whatever, where they have a different outlook than what I had on certain issues. So then I found that मैं जब खुद कर रहा हूँ, I am getting better result in some of those things, instead of taking that risk part of which stock to pick up or what to do instead of so that was giving me better result than say some wealth manager that is operating on my account. But it again depends. उस समय मेरे पास एकदम time नहीं था जब. So I always look at it 3 triangle: health, money and whatever time. So different phases of life you have to buy something. So जब टाइम नहीं था तो टाइम खरीदना ज़रूरी था. तो पैसे का ऑप्टिमम वैल्यू टाइम खरीदने से आता है. So like when you are in the say 30s to 50 or whatever.
Right.
So and when you are young, then I have lot of time, lot of good health, but पैसा नहीं होता है. तो it's better to work 24 hours रोज काम भी करेंगे. तो it's good enough for me. So that depends, what phase I was. So I kept on changing the whole relationship with my investment or money or whatever.
I think you very well summarized the kind of perception that Indians have with respect to financial advisors when you said that they were doing their own thing, but they were not really doing it for me. So what has been your relationship with these financial advisors? You did mention that you had someone who was doing it for you when you did not really have the time. How did you get introduced to that person, or how long was the association, if at all?
Still the association is still on. So I have 2 companies who manage my portfolio. So, and it was like destiny type, So some blank call जैसे आता है ना कि हम somebody called from Citibank, and वो actually we had a manager in the factory, commercial manager थे. तो like उनका unfortunately car crash में death हो गया. तो that phone was with me, कंपनी का फ़ोन था, मेरे पास ही पड़ा था. उस नंबर पे उन्होंने कॉल किया था, मतलब टू आवर कमर्शियल मैनेजर जो ऑफिस में थे. एंड आई पिक्ड अप एंड ही सेड कि मैं ऐसे सिटी बैंक से बोल रहा हूँ, आप इन्वेस्टमेंट करेंगे या वट एवर इट इज़. तो मैं बोला यार फ़ोन तो तूने किसी और को लगाया है, बट मेरे को कुछ इन्वेस्ट करना है, तू आ जा. सो दैट्स हाउ इट स्टार्टेड. इट्स वाज ए वन ऑफ द दे वर डूइंग इट लाइक टिल 31st March. सिटी बैंक वॉज देयर. सो they were one of the wealth managers that I had. So, and then other ek aur hai. So that's where some portfolio these guys were handling. They still do handle. And but wo kya hai ki they have their own advisories, like so I let them do whatever it is. At the end of the year, जब वो बोलते हैं कि इसको बेचो, इसको खरीदो, I let them do it whatever it is. I don't give my inputs to them. But once a year we sit down and see where we are. And so I found them, it's like, it's okay. Like, it's like not something, lot of time I tell my son, you know, ये पैसा सारा अगर फैक्ट्री में हमने और लगाया होता ना, तो we would have earned more. You know?
So one very common narrative that is driven by that interest is when they say that, you know, if you have any surplus money and you probably want to invest in, say, an asset like real estate or gold, and when they do their analysis of how much of your total wealth should be allocated to which category, a lot of times we see that there could possibly be a bias towards recommending certain equities or bonds which are probably not aligned with you. Or if you invest in real estate, you know, they may tell you that this will actually not as much as probably an equity portfolio can grow. Have you ever been given such a proposal, and how did you deal with it? Has it so happened that you've been wanting to invest in real estate and there are certain voices which tell you that no, invest in the stock market, it can do better?
Yeah, I mean, their suggestion comes, you know, a lot of time which is contradictory to what I think it is. But like, I've allocated certain part of my portfolio to these guys, and I said, okay, like, you know, I'm not neither taking money from you, neither I'm going to give you more money. You play around with it and show me the result, you know, that sort of thing. So beyond that, okay, if I do need to do something else, I'll do it of my own if it's needed, or if I have to consult somebody third party, you know, I can do that way, because I haven't found, you know, very interesting results. Okay, it's not like they lost money, and I have been here for long term, so I don't like withdraw money or actually speaking, पैसे की ज़रूरत कम होती रहती है. As you grow older, you don't need that much of money. So it's like, you know, you don't need to spend also. You don't feel like spending money. So उसके कारण भी उधले, okay, you do whatever you want to do with it, you know, and then they manage that part of it. I handle something, कुछ नया करना है. कभी जब टाइम नहीं है कुछ ऐसे ही है तो मैं बोलता हूँ ठीक है यार ये ले लो थोड़ा सा, और you do something. If they come up with a proposal which I feel like, you know, okay, let me give it a try. So
what I'm also hearing is, you know, for a lot of people, given the various backgrounds we all come from, money kind of becomes a unifying unit of measurement, you know, because there are not many other aspects of life that people can very objectively put a unit or a number on. So it becomes one metric that almost everyone is chasing in life. You know, so beyond a point you may realize that you've made enough, as you said, that you can't possibly spend it. And even if you invest it, you're probably not going to, you know, withdraw it from your investment. So then it's just a number. Do you feel any time in your life your metric has changed from money because you felt, okay, now I've made enough that it takes care of my family, it takes care of my needs, so maybe the metric must change?
Yes, I definitely pause and reflect. I mean, I make a long-term plan for most of the things I do. So like I look at it, you know, so I don't know if you guys have read that book, Die with Zero. So that's a very interesting book that, you know, if like I want to go on a holiday, I want to take my whole family to a cruise somewhere in the Atlantic, say, and it's going to cost me $30,000. And I don't spend that $30,000 because $30,000 is a lot of money. क्या होगा अगर बाद में ज़रूरत पड़ेगी, you know, that sort of thing. So then when I die and if there are $30,000 left in my account, that's the overtime I did.
Yeah.
So I always pause and reflect and, you know, look at it. If I have to give money to my, say, children, you know, so it's no point that I know I'm going to live for another 30 years, say. So by that time my son will be 60, you know. So what will he do with the money if I give him at 60? If I have to give him money, I believe give it today, you know. He can plan something around it, you know, because I know my needs. So I now calculate on time. So time is my biggest asset. Like I want to, so if you, my home screen, computer, when I open it, it gives me like, I have 1214 Sundays left. So now how do I want to use it, you know? So if I go and to shop, to say Select City Walk, I live in Delhi, so मेरे को 1 घंटा जाने में लगेगा, 1 घंटा आने में लगेगा, 1 घंटा वहाँ पे मैं शॉपिंग करूँगा. तो 3 घंटे वो खरीदने से अच्छा है कि I'll prefer to spend it with my granddaughter. And I know because after a few months she will be gone because like she'll start going to school, then her own life will start, you know. आज ये practice करना है, आज piano सीखने के लिए जाना है, संस्कृत. I mean that's how the kids are brought up today. So I'll prefer not to. And then that's what makes me do is, I know we have the same thing, same shoes, same clothes, same thing. So बेटे को बोलता तू जा रहा है तो दो ये मार्क्स एंड स्पेंसर से टी शर्ट उठा के ले आना और. So I don't spend time there. So I'll prefer to spend time which gives me more, fulfillment. So risk versus reward, always evaluating it. So yes, my relationship with money, when I look back like 5 years back to now, it's completely different.
So one thing that you mentioned is that God's been kind, and I'm sure you've put in enough effort, and your family's put in enough effort to constantly outperform your expectation in terms of financial goals. But for most people, as we're speaking with now in this series, we figure out that more than the age that they think at which they'll probably achieve financial independence, a lot of times there is an inflection point or an event in life, something that we could probably call a black swan event, which was unexpected, that happened, that suddenly changed your priorities. Because a lot of people could be running after that financial number despite having enough. Do you think there has been any inflection point in your
yes.
life where your goalpost changed,
Absolutely,
your
absolutely.
field changed?
Absolutely. So I used to work like 80, 90 hours, like Monday to Sunday. Unfortunately, it's not a proud thing to say, but I never had time to attend both my sons' PTMs also. I never went to their school. We never had holidays. हम मतलब चारों जन कभी हॉलिडे में हम कभी गए ही नहीं. एंड आई यूज़ टू ट्रैवल लाइक क्रेजी. आई यूज़ टू गो टू जर्मनी 12 घंटे, वापस रात की शाम की फ़्लाइट पकड़ के US ऑल द वे टू मीट फॉर 2 hours. जब भी नेक्स्ट फ्लाइट कनेक्टिंग पकड़ के घर आ रहे वापस. इट वॉज क्रेजी टाइम एंड इट वॉज लाइक द होल पर्पस वॉज कि बस अभी और पैसा और ग्रो करना है, ये रिस्क लेना है, ये मशीन उठाना है, कहीं पॉसिबिलिटी यू गेट फॉर बिजनेस का, एंड यू जस्ट जंप इन देयर, एंड दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ एटीट्यूड. And the Labor Day in 2009, I was driving from New Jersey to New York, and I was part of a car pileup. So there were 15 cars, one after the other, high speed. 2 people died. I survived that car crash, and I have a titanium disc. So they cut from here, and they put a titanium disc here. That day, then I was in rehab for a lot of time, and then that time I kept on thinking कि जिंदगी में किया क्या पैसे बनाने के अलावा. What's my legacy? What did I do other than, I never had time for my kids also. So then the whole thought process, I started learning a lot of other things, got into a lot of other things, कि ज़िंदगी में बाकी चीज़ों भी देखते हैं.
Such as, we'd love to know.
So I always have this pain on the left side because of that surgery or whatever, nerve ka. So like if I am talking to you, there will be always a pain that I'll have to experience. So I was on medicine and all those stuff. And then once one of my Canada से customer, he was coming here. He said, Sandeep, let's go for wildlife photography के लिए. वहाँ पे he was a wildlife photographer. He said, रणथंभौर चलते हैं. मेरे को तब तक तो ये भी नहीं पता था रणथंभौर है कहाँ, because I had never seen anything beyond airport, customer, office, home. That's it. And then चले गए रणथंभौर, ढूंढ ढांड के पता करके यहाँ रुकने का है, यहाँ जाने का है. Those 3 days when I was in the jungle, there was no pain. There was absolutely zero pain. तो मैं बोला, this is something is magical, let me do more of it. So I started going frequently for photography. I purchased some equipment, and in 4 years, 2014, I won the award for India's best wildlife photographer.
Wow.
So, a lot of prizes, money, car, trips, holidays, all these were prize money that kept on coming because of my pictures. I started selling on Getty and whatever, there was an extra revenue which was coming on there. So that's when I started playing drums, I started cooking, all those things. When COVID happened, that time I did my nutrition course. So now I'm certified level 1, level 2 coach, In fact, I can now go and coach the US Olympic team. I'm qualified for that. So I started mentoring people on health and then lifestyle. And I got in touch with like some of country's top prominent citizens, they are my mentees. So that was all the revenue was going for my charities. So grandfather ने मेरे को एक बचपन में बड़ी अच्छी चीज़ सिखाई थी, जो देता है सो पाता है. The more you give, the more you get. So that when it started, so when we started, some part of our revenue is always towards charity, So help in building hospitals or, We worked with IIT Kharagpur to build a lot of toilets around the small villages there. So some local partnership ke साथ we started doing a lot of things. I do a lot on conservation. I am as wildlife photographer. So we interact with a lot of schools, almost 3,000 schools in this country, the prominent schools where we do a lot of conservation efforts with the kids, sanitizing the kids basically. So all those things I started doing. So that part now goes towards getting revenue for this skill. That goes getting revenue for my all charities. It's 100% given to the charity, like directly goes to the trust. So the relationship with money kept on changing during the course, and I realized, when I look at my grandmom, we are 5 generations living in one roof. So my grandmom is there, my granddaughter is there. So I realized, what is her need? साल में 2 साड़ी 3 साड़ी, that's it, and she eats like एक चपाती दिन में, एक चपाती रात को. So as you age, like the fund people say that आज आपका अगर they calculate कि आपका कितना wealth होना चाहिए retirement में, blah blah. So it will like if I need 100,000 rupees a month right now, so they'll say like उस समय inflation ये वो हो कि आपको 5 लाख चाहिएगा. Actually तब तक आपको उतना खर्चा ही नहीं रहता. आपको तो अगर इंश्योरेंस अच्छा है आपका मेडिकल का, so your major expenses goes towards doctors and tests and all those stuff, So that I realized. So now I always look at the bigger picture of everything, what कहाँ पे risk लेना है, क्यों लेना है, कहाँ नहीं लेना है, So I have to safeguard my family side, so I don't take risk, anywhere where they are affected, Business में I do take risk, I do take loans, so.
That's actually a fabulous story. So, which also brings me to now that you've seen 5 generations in the same house and you can evaluate how needs for all of them differ. If say you had to advise people who are right now in their 20s, in their 30s, who are trying to build their life, would there be any thumb rules or frameworks that you would like to give from your experiences to say, what, this much you need to invest or save in an insurance policy? Or should you have 1 house or 2 house or 3 house? How do you think of buying a house? How do you think of how much would go into insurance, into an emergency fund? Are there any thumb rules you followed, or it's all been very intuitive on the fly? Or say you have to coach your son into financial education or how he should lead his life. What would you advise him?
Basically again it's what's the long term goal of anybody. So किसी का goal होता है like बहुत, it's not पैसे का नहीं होता, उनका passion होता है, like business को. I have relatives who are like 70, 80. My father-in-law actually, he's like around 80 and he still is like interested. अभी जयपुर में factory लगाते हैं, इधर लगाते हैं. So that's not for money, that's a drive that they have. So it all depends upon what is the goal of some person, So as you said, you guys have this One Finance has this MoneySign. So basically uska what is his this thing, क्या ज़रूरत है, and then it will vary from time to time also, कि आपको कब. There was a time when I had nothing to lose, so there was time when we had no food. My wife and me used to रात को पैसे नहीं है खाना खाने का, तो चलो बुआ का घर है वहाँ चले जाते हैं, तो बैठेंगे तो खाना तो खिला ही देंगे. So that used to be the so वो टाइम से लेके अभी जब है कि we like 9 of us in the family, my both sons, my 1 daughter-in-law, my grandmom, parents, my wife. So we all sit on the dining table. We are eating together. We are not eating the same food. So बच्चों को कुछ और चाहिए, दादी को बिना मिर्ची का खाना चाहिए. So somebody needs some, किसी को प्याज चाहिए, किसी को, इनफैक्ट ये चाय का पतीले भी चढ़ते हैं ना, हमारे 4 चढ़ते हैं, किसी को अदरक चाहिए, किसी को वो चाहिए. There are like different people. So now my goal is that they should be under the same roof. If I have to spend and get 2 cooks, if I have to make a kitchen which is huge enough where एक प्याज का भी बन रहा है, एक बिना प्याज का भी बन रहा है, if I need a oven which has like 6 burners, I'll spend in that. So at least there वो जो छोटी छोटी चीज़ों से like the family breaks, that does not happen. So now my spending pattern is that. Whereas my son or anything, they are now in the growing phase. So now they are not starting from where I started. They are starting from some other level. So they also wanted to be in a heroes type कि पापा ने ऐसे किया, अपन भी zero से शुरू करेंगे, तो हम इधर जॉब करेंगे. That whole generation का जैसे ये था कि हम नए सिरे से करेंगे. My elder one, he opened few cafes in Pune. मैं बोला आजा फैक्ट्री में, तो कोई अभी चलाएगा कौन इसको, या तो मैं इसको सेल करूँ. तो बोले आता हूँ करके ही ओपन 1 2 3 4 4 कैफ़े खोल दिए उसने. अच्छा चल रहा था. देन वन फाइन डे ही लाइक एज द न्यू जनरेशन इज ही सेड नाउ आई वांट टू गो बैक टू कॉलेज. सो वो देर इज़ ए सेफ्टी नेट दे हैव यू नो. सो वो दे डोंट लाइक टेक 2 minutes टू डिसाइड ऑन कि हाँ. सो वो है. हम जब पहले फैक्ट्री जाते थे वी यूज टू चेंज 3 ब्रश यू नो. चेंज करके एक बस इधर चेंज करेंगे, एक चेंज करेंगे. फिर लास्ट वाला जो रूट है वो लास्ट मिनट कनेक्टिविटीज ऑटो से होती थी. सो माई सन्स फर्स्ट कार वॉज ऑडी. सो दैट अप्रोच फॉर ए पर्सन विल ऑलवेज चेंज यू नो वेयर दे आर इन दैट यू नो स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट कहाँ है. तो उससे उनका रिलेशन में बहुत फ़र्क पड़ता है. सो आई हैव कम टू ए स्टेज वेयर आई कैन टेक लॉट ऑफ रिस्क यू नो. लाइक आई कैन गैम्बल हियर एंड देयर. दैट मे बी नॉट फॉर लाइक मनी बट मे बी फॉर सम थ्रिल you know, that sort of thing. Most people can't do that you know because I mean you उस स्टेज पे नहीं होते हैं. इट विल ऑल वेरी यू नो. इट विल वेरी फ्रॉम लाइक मनी साइन का वेरिएशन है वैसे सर्कमस्टांसिस का गोल्स का वेरिएशन है उस पर होगा. बट येस यू शुड ऑलवेज लुक एट द बिगर पिक्चर. कीप ऑन इन्वेस्टिंग. कि नोबडी एवर बिकेम रिच बाय गोइंग डूइंग 9 to 5 जॉब. दैट्स ए ट्रू स्टोरी. आप बहुत कोई 0.1001% होगा जो यू नो बिकम्स ए CEO ऑफ रिलायंस. सो बहुत मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल हैव टू डू समथिंग बियॉन्ड दैट जॉब टू बिकम रिच यू नो. इट्स और नहीं तो वो यू बिकम इनटू दैट. आई डू हेल्थ कोचिंग सो आई डिड ऑल दिस लर्निंग आई हैड. सो रिसर्च में वो करते हैं कि 9 to 5 जॉब इज इक्विवेलेंट यू नो लाइक दे ट्रेडमिल पे दौड़ाते हैं रैट को. जैसे कोई टेस्टिंग कर रहे हैं तो उसके सामने चीज़ रख देते हैं और वो चीज़ के पीछे दौड़ता है और वो ट्रेडमिल में वो व्हील पे दौड़ता है वो चूहा जो है. एंड थोड़े दिनों के बाद या कुछ घंटों के बाद वो चीज़ हटा देते हैं वो फिर भी दौड़ते रहता है. सो मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर यू नो आर लाइक रनिंग ऑन दैट व्हील विदाउट द चीज़ इन फ्रंट ऑफ देम. दे डोंट नो व्हाई दे आर डूइंग थिंग्स यू नो. और व्हाई आई एम इन्वेस्टिंग मनी समवेयर और व्हाई आई एम इन दिस जॉब. एम आई गेटिंग फुलफिलमेंट ऑफ फॉर मनी वाइज अपने स्टेटस के हिसाब से अपनी सोच के हिसाब से अपनी. सो दैट समवेयर यू हैव टू पॉज एंड रिफ्लेक्ट एंड एवरीबडी विल फाइंड ए वे. Right. What they want to do.
So what I'm hearing is one very interesting how in your house, despite so many people, everyone's needs are still different.
Yeah.
And their risk appetites would be different. Their ambitions and of course starting points are different. And आपने कहा that you know for people who are in jobs and you know in 9 to 5 you can't really make as much wealth as you can possibly do as an entrepreneur. And we understand that's your entrepreneurial mindset.
I'll just carry. It's not like as an entrepreneur without. I'm not saying as an entrepreneur. I say like 9 to 5 job plus you have to save. Like you just can't be on the survival mode कि आज ही खाया, आज ही कमाया, आज खर्च कर दिया, फिर अगले महीने की सैलरी आई. And you're not saving or you're not investing in whatever you are comfortable with. You know, like whether it is stock or FD or जिसमें भी करना है. That part needs to be done. It's not like you have to be an entrepreneur. Like professional jobs are, I believe, much better today, you know, from what we had when I started my career. But savings is a very integral part of, you know, whatever way it is. You know, like if I buy a Rolex, it's a saving actually. I think it's because its value is going up, and I'm enjoying the fruits.
Right.
Actually, I sold my last car after using for 4 years. I sold in profit. जितना मेरा कॉस्ट था उससे ज़्यादा में मेरे को पैसा मिला बेचने में. So like, so that's an, I mean, I say that I earned money out of it, you know.
Yeah.
So if the credit card points, you know, if I buy a ticket from miles somewhere to somewhere, so my son has gone to US अभी गए हुए वो, my son, daughter-in-law and my granddaughter, they are in US. They flew business class with the miles that I had. That's a saving. Otherwise नहीं तो वो 3-4 लाख रुपए की एक टिकट है, 3 लोग जा रहे हैं, you'll be spending 10-12 lakh rupees. So whatever way you want to do, but you have to save money. I mean, you have to be smart enough to understand how do I save money. So specialists do come in picture. You know, you have to find the right mentor, right company, right mentor, right. That तो आपको अपना देखना पड़ेगा कि मेरा risk parameter, मेरा कितना, you know, where I am mentally, what my sign is, you know, money sign is, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you know, very interesting. You've touched upon health as wealth, you've touched upon money as wealth, you've touched upon time as wealth, you've also touched upon network and relationships as wealth. And I'm assuming by the time one gets at your age, normally the most amount of time that they would have spent would possibly be with their spouse. And if that's the case, your spouse would have also seen the same journey that you have gone through, the same experiences and shared the same environment now for over 30 years, I'm assuming. If that's the case, do you feel that the same environment has shaped you and your wife very similarly, where your thoughts about money and investing are similar? Or do you feel that there are certain differences despite having the same experience?
Completely different, like it's again two different individuals. So like my wife is a very risk, I mean she is the actual tiger, कि वो जिसको बोलते हैं कि वो she is like she enjoys like Bitcoin, अच्छा समझते हैं क्या है, मैं तो बोलता हूँ Bitcoin, I don't even want to look at that currency, I mean those things, because I don't understand it. She like पहले ही she said मेरे बेटे को तो अकाउंट खोल इधर, वो something she bought some currencies which like whatever happened to that I don't want to say, but she is like very much into those things, where she is very excited to invest and do all those stuff. But I mean because I believe another reason could be that वो रोज का उसको सोचना नहीं पड़ता कि मेरा खाना कहाँ से आएगा, मेरा ड्राइवर कहाँ से आएगा, मेरी प्लेन की टिकट कहाँ से आएगी. So maybe that's why she said okay my money कुछ do. And also I realized during demonetization because कि इनके पास पैसा कितना होता है, तो because वो she never जो लिफाफे मिलते हैं, ये रिश्तेदार ने दिया, उसने दिया, she never even opened, like 25-30 साल के मैरिज में वो ऐसे के ऐसे लिफाफे ऐसे पड़े थे. तो जब डिमोनेटाइजेशन हुआ तो खोला था, I said what the hell is this, what do I do with this money now? So the point is, I mean she is like different, like it's not that my son is different, my younger son is more like me, and elder one is like his mom, like so both of them are believe in taking risk, and now I have come to a stage where I said okay, whatever works for you.
So far whatever you were telling me about your life, I could easily profile you as our money sign of tactical tiger, saying risk loving and entrepreneurial spirit and all of the characteristics that they talk about. But the moment you spoke about your wife, I can definitely imagine that she probably has more of those traits. So would love for her to take the money sign test, and I am curious to know what her money sign is. But digging deeper into yours, I can see that it says you as tactical tiger have a high risk appetite, a lot of analytical skills, that's possibly your strength, and in weaknesses there could be quick judgments and tendency to overcomplicate. So what do you think about it? And I'm sure you got your report as well, you went through it. Any thoughts on how much you relate to your money sign?
Lot of it I do, and analytical, yes, I have this I'll say some inborn this thing that I can analyze very soon, कि ये धंधा जमता है बोले, I mean invest in this or whatever is there, and most of the time it has worked, that take risk that I have taken has worked. Obviously I have lost a lot of times also, but ratio wise, it's worked majority of the time. So I do analyze quicker, so I do analyze everything. I think I like what's the trend in my factory's expenses, I can make out from the number of photocopier का जो बिल का मैं पूछ लेता हूँ, अगर कि तेरा जितनी मशीन से पेपर में कितना फोटोकॉपियर वाले का बिल आया, so I can tell out कि काम कितना कर रहे हैं, that's like एक हमारा business कैसा चल रहा है, उससे भी I can analyze, so that sort of thing. So that advantage I carry by maybe genetic or whatever it is. And yes, I do love to take risk on certain part of it, but I want to safeguard my family also now, so I don't go to that extent now. जब कुछ नहीं था तब तो like you are gambling, like so a lot of things you were doing, but up now, but some portion of it I always keep it safe, they don't suffer. I do keep a lot of insurance. First is health. Health insurance has to be enough for all of us, and then obviously your life insurance or whatever is there, so that because that time when the car crash happened, I told you, like then I realized कि अगर उस दिन मेरे को कुछ हो जाता, तो kids were small and like wife never knew what I did in business. In fact, then I started taking her to work. So 3 years I trained her again that if I'm not there, you should be able to handle it independently. So she started going to work after that. So, but uska situations changed after that incident. Thinking का pattern changed. So yes, a lot of things I match with it, and I think there was somewhere there that I take very instant decisions also, like risk. So वो भी होता है, वो भी कभी कभी गलत भी होता है, like you fall into, get influenced on something, and that no more it. I mean, now I think I'm in much more command of what I'm doing.
A new kind of insurance I've just learnt about is taking your 5 at work insurance. So thank you for that, and that was a very thought-provoking conversation. Thank you so much for being with us, Sandeep.
Thanks. It was a pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot.
That was a very thrilling conversation with our tactical tiger, Mr. Sandeep Mall. Now I invite you to figure out what is your money sign.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.